Welcome to Financial Focus, brought to you by GulfCoast Financial Services founder and CEO, John Kuykendall. John and his team of financial, legal, and tax professionals have provided North Florida savers and investors sound, comprehensive financial guidance for over 25 years, helping you to achieve important life and planning goals. Be sure to like, subscribe, share, and tune in for more Financial Focus by visiting GulfCoastFinancial.net.
And welcome into the program. This is Financial Focus, brought to you by the best of the best in financial services, as named 6 years and running by the Lake City Reporter, serving North Central Florida savers and investors. They are the team from GulfCoast Financial. Founder and CEO John Kuykendall here with us, as always, providing the guidance, and we certainly appreciate that, John.
Well, thank you, Peter. It's great to be here. I got to tell you, though, it's 7 years running. We just got announced that we made it again. So best of the best financial services company in Lake City, Florida, as by the readers of the paper. So we're really excited about that.
Another feather in the cap there. Congratulations.
Well, yeah, we're getting close to where we'll be 30 years. So we got 6 more months and we're 30 years old. So we'll take anything we can get as we go forward. So.
Well, John, we always appreciate you helping us to uncomplicate the financial world, telling us what we need to be doing or paying attention to in the economy, in our own personal planning efforts. And today, covering some of the most common retirement roadblocks, 7 financial risks that we want to avoid in retirement. Well, actually, John, maybe this first one, maybe something we don't want to avoid, but we don't want it to be a risk. And that is longevity is something that we need to be prepared for in retirement.
Yeah, longevity, as Tom Hegna says, is the multiplier for all the other risks that we have in retirement. And as we get, as we have more and more technology and we have more and more medical advancements, we're living longer. And so now we have to plan for that 30, 35-year retirement, where we used to only have to worry about maybe 20 years. When Social Security was first started, the actual age, the actuarial age, life expectancy for most males was like 63, and Social Security started at 65. So there was some reason that the government did that. I'm not sure what it was, but we certainly changed, and now there's a really good possibility that you could live up into your 90s, 95, and even in Japan, one of the fastest growing segments is the centurions. People who are over 100.
And the chances are getting better and better here as well. In fact, 50% of men live to age 89, 50% of women live to age 90, 25% of men living to 94, 25% of the ladies living to 96. Now, it's only 5% of men living to 100 or beyond, 5% of women living to 102 or beyond, but still a very quickly growing segment of our population demographically. And John, if we are on the cusp of retirement, say 60 to 65 years old, all chances indicate that we are the part of the population that brings those averages up. And so we really do need to prepare for retirement lasting quite a long time.
Well, that's right, Peter. I think it's something that a lot of people don't realize is that in some cases you're going to be retired for longer than you actually worked. And so we need to plan, and we need to have a plan in place to take care of that. Certainly, as technology improves and as medical advances improve, as I said, we're going to be living longer and longer. And the millennium's coming along now very well could be in the 120, 130 bracket. So it's amazing how it's happened, but also our lifestyle's different. You got to remember that, my great grandfather, he had a much rougher life than I have. It was a lot harder for him to make a living and to live because of the way our advancements. It's amazing. We were talking about it yesterday, how far we've come technology wise in the last 10 years.
Yeah, medical advances and
Yeah.
advances in quality of life, and just kind of simplifying things, not so much manual labor
Mhm.
in most jobs. It tends to have a healthy effect on us. I love the sound of being retired longer than I am in my working career, John, but that makes saving for retirement during those years that much more important. And typically the retirement years, just because of inflation and time, are more expensive than our working years.
Well, that's right, Peter. And as you know, right now we're talking, that's one of the big topics we're talking about is inflation. And so, with inflation, it doesn't, if we have 3% inflation, every 26 years prices double.
Mhm.
So, things are going to get more expensive in retirement. I think there was an example that I was reading about the Mustang, how much it cost when it first came out was like $2,368. Now that was in 1964. Okay. And now a Mustang fully equipped could be $70,000.
Well, if somebody
So,
bought one back then, I will double the price and buy it from them today.
yeah.
That 1964 Mustang, 5,000, you got it right now, cash.
Well, I can remember buying a 71 Volkswagen for $1,850. And I had to finance it because we didn't have enough to pay for it. But things have certainly increased in value and not in value, but in price. And as I think I gave an example not too long ago where I was talking about my coffee pot, having bought a coffee maker for $495 a year ago. And now the thing is $795, same coffee pot.
Should have bought two.
I should have. I could have sold one on eBay and made $100.
Yeah. Well, you passed along a chart to me of inflation rates from 1960 to 2020. And
Mhm.
while there have been many, many years where it's been below the average, there have been some times where it has spiked quite high. On average, over that 60-year period, 1960 to 2020, the average historical inflation has been 3.7%. So if we need our money to double, or if our expenses due to inflation are going to double about every 26 years or so, John, and the average in retirement duration with longevity is about 30 years. This is absolutely a factor that we need to plan for. Unfortunately, most financial plans or projections here, air quotes for those just listening to the podcast, they don't include a whole lot of addressing of inflation.
Well, Peter, we have to. I mean, I lived back in the 70s and the 80s when we had 18% prime, and I think it got over 20. We were making loans at the bank at 18.5%. So inflation back then was over 12%. Now, if you're retired and you're living during that time, then, things are costing you a lot of money. Now, while the average is 3.7, there are periods of history where we've had super high inflation, and that can certainly cost us in our retirement. So 3.7 is higher than most people are using in their projections. Most people are saying, well, inflation's 2%. But if we look at the historical average being 3.7, then certainly we need to include like 4% inflation in our projections to make sure that we have enough money to last us during retirement.
Again, talking with John Kuykendall, founder, CEO at GulfCoast Financial Services, named best of the best in financial services 7 years now and running, as voted by the readers of the Lake City Reporter. And if you've got questions or concerns, if you'd like to make sure that your plan addresses some of these retirement roadblocks, pick up the phone and give them a call for a complimentary planning review and strategy session. That financially focused retirement plan customized to your unique individual situation. 386-755-9018, 386-755-9018, the number to call, 386-755-9018. John, another of these roadblocks that you have listed that is unfortunately getting in the way of comfortable, confident retirement for many is sequence of returns risk. Now, this is kind of a newer terminology,
Yeah.
but we are hearing more and more about this today.
Well, we are, Peter. It's fairly new. We started hearing it probably 5-6 years ago. And sequence of return has proven to be one of the major stumbling blocks in retirement, because what it says is that while the stock market may average 9%, 10%, that's the average. There are some times when it's up 10 and it's down 20, and sometimes when it's up 20 and down 10. And it depends on when you're pulling your money out. That is going to affect how long your money lasts. Now, we have an example of two people that retired, and they both had $1 million in retirement. They were brother and sister. One retired 3 years earlier than the other one. And it just so happened that during that time, the market was up. When the other person retired, the market was up for a year and then went down for a couple of years. And if you look, the one that retired the 3 years early and was lucky enough to hit the right sequence, he withdrew 1.3 over almost 1.4 million, but he had a little over 2 million left in his account. The other one, same amount of money coming out each year, withdrew 1.147, almost 1.2 million, but they only had 148,000 left over. So if they had lived just a little bit longer, then they would have been out of money.
Sure. Yeah. And if you're that one that retired with $1 million and then only have about 150,000 left after 15 or 20 years, you're not feeling real confident looking at the next 15 or so years of retirement. John, at its core, is sequence of returns risk saying essentially that if we are relying on the market, our retirement is based on just luck and timing?
Well, I think what we're talking about is, asset allocation doesn't work over a long period of time. We can't just put everything in the market and say that I'm diversified and I'm going to make money. What we need to have is an income plan that's going to give us sustainable, predictable income, plus have the market for our growth bucket so that we can grow the bucket and take care of those times when the market's bad or when we need more money. Or, we have to have an emergency fund because we're going to need things replaced during retirement. Sure. We're going to have, we're going to have a roof. We're going to have a hip repair. Those things are going to happen.
John, in retirement, should that emergency account maybe be a little higher than it was during our working career when we had the core security taken care of by the paycheck?
Well, the thing is that you're your paycheck. And so I think it only behooves you to be safe and have a little bit more money set aside in an emergency fund that you can get your hands on. And so I always like our clients never to have everything in a tax deferred account, because, now we're talking about taxes because I pull it out and the government changing how I pull it out and how it affects and my beneficiary, the whole 9 yards that we've seen recently. So, I want to have a lot of money that I've already paid taxes on that I can get my hands on and not have to pay taxes.
And we'll talk a little bit more about taxes in a moment. Definitely another retirement roadblock.
Oh, yeah.
But with sequence of returns, that deals with when you're pulling money out and in what market environment. Yet another layer of risk and another retirement roadblock that sort of is on top of that and compounds it is how much you are withdrawing out. Withdrawal rate risk is another thing that we need to specifically address in our written retirement plan.
Well, Peter, this goes back to 1978 when an individual came up with a 4% rule that I can take 4% out of my account and I'll always have plenty of money. The problem with that is back in the 70s and 80s and 90s, interest rates were high. Mortgage loans from 1970 to 1995 were consistently in the 7.5% and 8% range. And now we're looking at mortgage loans in the 2 to 3 range and savings, if you can find anybody to pay you anything for it.
0.01 to 0.05% range. Yeah. Which makes the ability to withdraw money and then protect the rest of your principal inherently that much more difficult.
Well, yeah. I used to get 4.5% on my savings, on my checking account, savings account. And now we get nothing. And so if we have all of our money in the safe bucket, then we're not earning enough to keep up with anything. And that 4% rule won't work, I don't think, because of that. And because now we know that we have sequence of returns. when we did this in 78, we didn't have the computers nor somebody analyzing the history to figure out how it was going to work. Now, if I got a conventional, everybody says, well, you need 60% equities, 40% bonds when you retire. If I'm pulling out 4%, I got less than a 50% chance that I'm not going to run out of money.
That does not sound like a fantastic, confident retirement moving forward following that model. And John, if we have redefined how much we can pull out of our accounts from 4% down to 2%, that means in order to get the same income, I need to have saved twice as much money.
Twice as much. And a lot of people don't understand that. They don't realize is that I need twice as much as I thought I need to pull out the same money if I'm not going to go back to work during retirement, or I'm not going to live with the kids.
Yet another retirement roadblock here. It's actually something that we all anticipate being some component of our retirement income, but we really need to carefully examine how and when to utilize it, and then think about maybe the risks that reliant on it too much could be disastrous or could be dangerous, let's call it, for our retirement well-being, and that is Social Security. So John, first and foremost, making good decisions with Social Security, and then additionally looking at the real world scenario that we find ourselves in, where Social Security is maybe not as solvent as we once thought it was.
Well, that's true, Peter. There's two parts here that we need to look at. First is that Social Security, for a lot of people, will be the only pension check you get. And so we have to make the right decision. Now, if anybody that makes the wrong decision nowadays, it's, they didn't think, because the software is there, how we file is there. You can go to any financial advisor, or you should be able to, and have them run an analysis on Social Security and show you where you maximize, show you where the crossover rate is if you take it early, and also talk to you about the penalties of taking it early and how much you can earn without being penalized. If I'm going to file early because I'm afraid I'm not going to get it, and I take a 25% haircut, and now we're projecting that before the end of 2020, the end of this decade, before we get into 2030, we might end up with another 25% haircut. You're taking a 50% haircut on what you could, half the check you should have gotten. So we have to plan this right. And Social Security is not simple. I wish the software was available and was out when I filed, because I made a mistake. I should have waited. I filed at full Social Security age, but I didn't need the money. But I thought I should go ahead and file because it was free money. But if I'd have waited, my check would have been $1,500 a month more. So now I look back on it, that $1,500 looks pretty good.
Yeah.
John,
because there's not a whole lot of education provided by the folks at the Social Security Administration office on these different choices and options, because they don't provide recommendations on when to come and file on the best day. That's why that's part of your process there, is that education, running those calculators and scenarios for your clients at GulfCoast Financial Services. Yeah,
the thing about it is, Peter, we've been there and done that. We file for Social Security. We help our clients file for Medicare. We'll do it all. In fact, I was on the telephone yesterday with Social Security for an hour, walking a client through filing for his Social Security. It's not an easy task. There are a lot of questions. They're not there to give you advice. They're there to tell you how much you can get if you want to file.
Well, again, it can make the difference in a significant amount of money over your retirement. So well worth the time to get that education. Again, if you've got questions about that, if you want to make sure that you are making a well thought through decision with the Social Security, pick up the phone, give GulfCoast Financial Services a call, 386-755-9018, 386-755-9018, 386-755-9018. John, another one of your retirement roadblocks, healthcare risks. A big one that we're all concerned about, but a lot of times we tend to ignore this one.
Well, Peter, the thing is, we think when we get on Medicare that we're taken care of. And so if we can make it to 65 and get Medicare and get our supplement, we're still going to have some out of pocket because we got to pay the monthly premium for the Part B and for the supplement if we have one. And that can be as much as $800 a month for a couple. And in addition to that, we've got drug costs. And in some cases, you may have some other deductibles. But the big thing that a lot of people aren't planning for is long-term care. And Medicare and Social Security do not pay for long-term care. That's not part of the system. So that will have to be taken out of your pocket, or you can qualify for Medicaid after you've spent down all your assets, if that's the way you want to go. But the average cost for a nursing home is over $7,600 a month. And so we have to somehow plan for how we're going to cover that if one of the couples is confined, so that the other couple the other person still has money and also can continue their retirement. But, and now we're saying in a couple of years ago, we were only saying, well, let's plan for 2 years or 3 years of confinement. Now they're saying that the national average is 5 years. So we need to plan for 5 years of confinement. Now, even if you're with a wage cost and inflation going up, if I say I'm going to stay home and not go to a nursing home, the average cost for a healthcare worker to come to your home and is $20.50 an hour. I mean, that's a lot of money a month coming out.
So such a complicated and potentially expensive issue. John, is there any good way to address this one head on?
Well, the thing about it is, Peter, is we have to make our assets do more than one thing. We can't go out and buy a long-term care plan because nobody's issuing them in Florida. Everybody's pulled out of the market. And if you have one, the chances are your premiums are going to go up. So what we have to do is we have to find what we call a hybrid product, either a life insurance product or an annuity that will give us a monthly income and at the same time will give us a doubler and pay us some kind of nursing home visit benefit, or life insurance that we can take 80% of the face value out and then set up a cushion reserve for long-term care.
Well, if you'd like to find out about those solutions, if you'd like to make sure that you are structured in a way that can help you to address and offset those costs while maintaining the protection, the standard of living of your loved ones, those around you, to make sure that you have taken the best steps possible to address this potential roadblock head on, pick up the phone, give GulfCoast Financial Services a call, 386-755-9018. And John, now circling back to the last on your list here of the major retirement roadblocks, you touched on it earlier, but taxation, a huge concern right now for anyone saving their way toward retirement, or if we have already built up a large tax deferred nest egg, maybe of particular importance to do some proactive planning right now.
Oh, yeah, Peter. I mean, that's one of the things that we forget about is taxes in retirement. Your taxes in retirement probably aren't going to be any lower than they were while you were working. And so if you look, the historical average for taxes is 57%. Now, that's a lot different than one of me saying, well, I'm in the 20% bracket. But at some point in time, somebody was in the 90% bracket to get it up there. And so taxes are going to be going up. We have been taught to tax defer everything. And so what we've done is we've done a great job as Americans of building our 401ks and building our IRAs. But we need to figure out how we're going to convert those into a Roth so that we can take them out tax-free, or how we're going to take it and convert it into life insurance so that we can at least get that income out tax-free and build a cash nest egg there. So, taxes are going to be a huge problem. They're going to be even worse going forward. Taxes are going up. We know that. We can't issue all these trillions of debt without having to pay for them at some point in time. And that's either going to be in higher cost of goods through high inflation or through higher taxes.
And if you ever really want to get concerned, go visit that usdebtclock.org and just watch those numbers tick away, right? I saw another chart, John, from Fred, the Federal Reserve economic data, and it showed that 20% of all U.S. currency currently in circulation was created within the last 12 months. That one worried me too.
Wow. 20%. I didn't have no idea that was that much. I knew that it was a lot. And we know that, since the downturn in 2008, we were at 198% debt increase. We're probably in the 250 now percent, 250% increase just in those short years, 13 years that we're talking about. We've quadrupled our debt. It's amazing how much we owe. Look at that clock and look at how much we owe each year in interest.
Yeah. Yep. It's creeping up to be almost what the GDP is, which is awful scary. But, what you or I or any individual can do about that, John, pretty limited in scope, except that we can plan proactively to deal with tax changes and tax increases in the future. Just one of the things that we do to travel wisely through retirement. We want to get to where we want to be safely. We want to make the right decisions. And a lot of that can be relying on not going it alone. We map out a route and we have our GPS if we take a road trip, and we want that same kind of thing as we are taking our financial journey through retirement. So we create that strategy. We understand our asset, our income, and our tax allocations, and we keep that long-term planning perspective.
Yep, that's right, Peter. And that's what we have to do. We have to have that income plan, that financial focus income plan that we offer to everyone out there, so that we can come up with a roadmap that addresses all 7 of these things at one time in a very simplistic manner, so that you'll be able to understand it with very conservative numbers.
Well, if you would like that financially focused retirement income plan, pick up the phone, give GulfCoast Financial Services and GulfCoast Tax Advantage, their sister companies, a call. 386-755-9018. That's 386-755-9018. 386-755-9018. Voted best of the best in financial services, now 7 years and running, by the readers of that Lake City Reporter, serving North Central Florida savers and investors. And John, always appreciate your guidance and perspective here on Financial Focus.
Thank you, Peter. It was great to be here. Great show.
Be sure to like, subscribe, share, and tune in for more Financial Focus by visiting GulfCoastFinancial.net. The information presented on this program is provided for informational purposes only, without warranty of accuracy, completeness, or suitability for a particular purpose. This program is not intended to be and does not constitute financial, investment, legal, or tax advice. This information is general in nature and not specific enough to be construed as advice. You should not make any decision based on the information presented on this program without independent consultation with an appropriately licensed professional or competent advisor. Investment in securities or the market involves a potential risk for loss of principal. Trading, therefore, may not be suitable for all listeners. Annuity guarantees are based solely on the financial strength and claims paying ability of the issuing company. Withdrawals of growth from annuities may be taxable as ordinary income in the year it is taken. Individuals should review contracts for specific details of the product's features and costs. Early withdrawals may subject the owner to penalties, fees, or taxes. John Kuykendall is registered with and securities are offered through Kovac Securities Inc., member FINRA SIPC, found online at www.kovacsecurities.com. Advisory services are offered through GulfCoast Financial Services Inc., a registered investment advisor in Florida. GulfCoast Financial Services Inc. is not affiliated with Kovac Securities Inc. or Kovac Advisors Inc. Past performance is not indicative of future results. All investing involves risk. Investment decisions should be based on your own goals, time horizon, and tolerance for risk. Due to various factors including changing market conditions and/or applicable laws, the content may no longer be reflective of current opinions or positions.